I was trying to say that John is a genius and that John has shared a lot with me, basically shared his life with me. Everything that, was John was sort of divided with me. And so, just to have a clearer setup, my mom basically worked for Entrepreneur, John's mom, and that's essentially how I met John. And so, unfortunately, I don't know where I got cut out. I don't know where I got kicked off stage. So this edit might be strange, but basically, I was saying that John studied chemical engineering, which is one of the most challenging degrees that you can encounter, and passed. Me and John started a band with Dagan, at the time his best friend. Obviously they're still good friends. And so he introduced me to Dagan. We all became best friends. And so, guys, ladies and gentlemen, the man of the hour. What's up, John?
What's happening, brother? How are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Great. Ciao, ciao. Sweet. Yeah. Give me a sec.
Okay. John's at work, guys.
Yeah. Sorry. This is why it's actually quite a conundrum just to get people on streams, just in general, dude. Like, I must say, it's actually quite a journey I've tried on my end, I must say.
It's been a journey to get you on stream, bro.
Yeah, see, dude, like even Tom, Zen Master, he's been, I've been needing to jump on a call with him just to go through like liquidity providing and shit like that, because holding some bags of Zen or Pulse or whatever it may be would be quite beneficial if you could just provide liquidity, over a bigger range. Anyway, what's happening?
You have a very interesting, how can I say, perspective on cryptocurrency, but I also think you have a very interesting journey, just from what I was telling the audience, from studying chemical engineering to actually being involved in events and food and food photography. So those are very diverse, very broad industries, or just far apart. So like and I was telling them that you're a genius, like it's very obvious to me. So how is it that you went from studying chemical engineering to exploring something more creative like food photography, as well as music and events?
A nice one. Look, I think since this is up for debate, we live in a matrix, and subsequently I believe that we're all given traits and attributes based on our specifics in this universe, and that's when we get down to numerology. So like with what you're saying, alluding to the notion of geniusness, like for me, I don't pride myself on that, even though perhaps it comes across that way to some people. They have used the words as narcissistic, arrogant, condescending, and perhaps that's just more of a misunderstanding than anything. And back to the numerology point of view, I find that since I'm a snake, born in 89, and I'm a 7, life path, those are two, should I say, ecosystems that align with wisdom and intuition. So perhaps this is what allows me to get into answering the question better as to how I've diversified myself. And it comes down to this, bro. Seeing things that's below surface level. And it allows me to identify where the flaws are, where the pros and cons are, and subsequently better making decisions as to where I need to go, So ultimately, with that being said, we once pursued in a band together, right? And if I look at that at the onset of it, so early in our childhood. Let's say that we weren't even teenagers yet when we were incepting the band. And as it happened, we went on this journey, and I find that music in its own right is a canvas of creativity. For me, the most prolific of them all, personally, because of the influence that it does on such a large scope of people and animals. So like, for us coming to music at such an early age, and then I speak for myself, with the attributes of intelligence, the tenacity to know more, learn more, get super micro into the analysis of everything, has allowed me to see where things are downtrending versus where there's an opportunity to uptrend. And when I studied Chem-Eng, if I look back in hindsight, a lot of it was attributed to the ideal of becoming an engineer. And this goes back to like more cultural aspect, growing up with dad being an engineer, and that kind of being the essence of what tertiary education can lead to a person that has some level of intelligence. And for me, that was a highlight growing up, to tick that off. And when the time came to choose the type of engineering, I picked the one that was most challenging. Even though I tended more to physics, mechanical, I still chose chemical because it was the most difficult at Wits at the time. And I thought, okay, let's challenge myself and do it. I remember 2 weeks in, I wanted to fucking drop out and go to Mech-Eng. But fortunately, I had some great friends that changed that idea. Who knows what would have happened if I went that route, dude. But nonetheless, it took a lot of turmoil to actually get it done, because during the process, we founded an events company called THC, Townhouse Culture, as you mentioned, most probably. And with that became the journey of entrepreneurship, business, whatever. Even though we dabbled with that in our lifetime, growing up, especially with the band, selling tickets and shit like that. I think that was a taste of what one can do with some form of IP, intellectual property to an extent, and how you can, monetize it. And we saw that opportunity with DJing. We saw an opportunity to infiltrate a market that wasn't yet monopolized, especially in the deep house underground scene. And fortunately, at the time, we were given an opportunity to do what we do at a rooftop in town called Living Room. And I think that kind of set the platform to what one can do at an advanced level. Because I remember us selling tickets for $20 or $40 at the door.
Jeez,
And
yes.
we managed to build up liquidity, so to speak, to fund things in the process of building the repertoire. Whether it's equipment, headphones, speakers, and we did that to the point where we found a lid in terms of our business style, and we started failing at the event space, and then started to lose off the equipment purely because you had to sell it to pay this DJ or this venue and whatever. So it was quite an interesting journey to see you scale and all of a sudden lose it all purely because you just want to be ethical and pay people. So that was a great experience. And then I got to a point where I was done with the tertiary studies. Now it was that moment where one needs to find work. And on the back end of doing events and trying to pursue entrepreneurship at the best of its ability, one still hits a lot of obstacles in its journey, and as a result, had to find other ways of income streams, and hence the pursuit of finding a job. And this is what made me realize at that time that engineering was perhaps not the right thing for me as a person in the journey I was pursuing at that time, because I really didn't want to get into another systemic environment where there's this top-down corporate ladder kind of approach. I wanted something a little more startup, something a little more open-minded, where you can start to express yourself as a human more so than the technical ability of the human. So yeah, I came through to OMM, and that's been a venture in its own way, bro. So yeah, that was a long one, but I hope to have answered the question.
No, definitely you answered the question, bro. Um, I think that it's a very interesting journey. That perhaps you'll find that there are people who are actually engineers that wish they actually went and pursued the creative side of themselves that is like chambered. And I think you have actually gone and actually been brave enough to explore that, because the status of an engineer, bro, is very high. And to sort of give that up to sort of pursue something like music, or creating an events company, I think is the road less traveled. So yeah, bro, of course, it's going to take time to explain that. Yeah, sorry, respond.
No, like I totally agree, but like it's actually something I was talking to some other guys about the other day regarding status and how like what you do and what career you push can elevate that level of status. And I use the doctor as a prime example as to what level of status a doctor has in society, and it supersedes a lot, perhaps most, unless you have founded Starbucks or some shit. But yeah, like doctors are respected differently. They trusted. And, being a 7 life path, I don't want to really align with the snake thing, because like that's got its own law. Intricacies aligned to that. But regarding 7 life path, like I feel that that's the one thing that I find very difficult, is the misunderstanding in the creative space. Because people in the creative space tend to be a little bit more subjective in the approach.
Okay.
So very opinionated, very, I would say their opinion matters more than the opinion of an engineer matters. But the difference is the engineer's opinion is more righteous than it is opinion. Now, let me break that down. When I say righteous, I'm saying that the approach is more analytical. So it tries to get down to the mathematical technique or mechanics of decision making. Now, obviously, in the field of engineering, that matters, right? Because when you're building something, a bridge, whatever it may be, numbers matter. Because the design needs to work. There is no opinion about it. There's no like, we would prefer for it to be circular by nature. No, bro, it unfortunately needs to be triangles, right? Because that's just the element of physics that's being put at play. Now, why I'm saying these two things is because the two worlds differ in its approach in decision making. The one uses an opinion that's more aligned with an intuitive approach, and the other is more systemic, or should I say systematic, in its approach, looking for the details as to why it won't work and why it will work. Whereas a lot of decisions made in this marketing industry, the creative space, is based on my opinion, right? And who agrees with it the most. So inadvertently, the space suffers groupthink more so than you'd find in spaces like engineering and doctors and medicine, purely because there's hard science backing X, Y, Z decisions versus just opinions and how many people agree with you. Because it's like with politics, dude. It's not a very smart intellectual space, but it's merely about how many votes or how many people you can get to agree with you. So if you look at it, the skill sets are charisma, salesmanship, all those kind of things that make people shine and makes people want to agree with you opposed to the next. And that's the thing I've been facing in this industry, which is making me align more with, for instance, engineering. Doesn't mean I want to go back into it, but see how one can solve problems in that space on a macro level, and also put it into an aspiration board for the future, right? Like, life's long unless you get taken out. So there's a lot of ventures one can proceed with, and I find that I want to do a few, and I want to get into the band purely because I find that playing in a group with people making one type of harmonic symphony is in itself the epitome of teamwork, because you start to telepathically understand each other in a way that's so spontaneous and in the moment that you can't teach that. You can't teach it in business, and I haven't found it anywhere. And this is where I see where my play is. I want to be playing, but playing with some form of efficiency, like playing golf for the sake of just playing golf and having a couple beers and just buying the best shit and making golf more of a liability to you is not the essence of playing golf, right?
Yeah.
It may just be a way for you to leverage the sport for your own self-esteem, or just for the sake of participating with other people that do it. But then you get people that play golf to play golf, like they're playing, right, with themselves. Because you don't play the sport with anyone else unless you make it competitive, which is just a metric system, right? Which is actually, I find, the biggest flaw in the act of playing golf or any sport is that nature of bringing the competition into the whole aspect of things, all right? And so for me, I'm starting to look at things that are in the future, long term, and can align with my level of thinking at that time, which is more in the realm of engineering, problem solving at scale, perhaps with the hydrogen stuff, some form of technical expertise. It'll come. I know it'll come because I know the right people in the space. I'm even going for a drink with Jon Theory. I don't know if you ever met him. He was a very good performer. Terry from Wits. Anyway, he was studying. Okay. Homosexual dude. I don't know if you remember. Anyway.
No.
So he went to Sasol, did that whole inventory stuff, and then ended up starting his own environmental company.
Wow.
And so I'm super curious to see where that's going, because those are the kind of projections that I'm going to align with in the long term, is because I know there's a level of expertise that one can bring to the table that's outside of the technical expertise that, for instance, that person may have that supersedes me, right? And this is what I found engineering was a big calamity in how I made my decision going forward in the career. Because I always thought there was definitely someone better than me, right? Mm-hmm. And why do I want to go and beat someone that's better than me and at a job when he or she should rather do it? I'd much rather be empowering the individual somehow or another. And this is where we come back to business and acquisitions and stuff like that. Stuff where I want to be in the future, right? Like even use Terry's company, for example, and then you use Farasani from Rand Merchant. You join the dots, you can get fucking funding from Rand Merchant and be the middleman in that whole acquisition. And who knows, get 10% of equity just from that move. And you didn't even need to be the best engineer. And you also didn't need to have the money, right? You literally just needed to know the two people and join the dot. So this is where I feel like we're intending to, because I find that without the doctor title and without working as an engineer, where does respect come from? It comes from reputation. And that's what I'm going to try to focus on now going forward, is building a strong reputation in the things I love doing. And that can be diverse, but not so much so that you can't be specialized in each space, or at least bring the best version of yourself. So for now, I see music, engineering, and marketing being at the forefront of how I'm going to put everything together.
Okay. And yeah, that was really deep, bro. So but the company you work at, OMM, is a marketing company, right? And last I checked, you were taking photographs. Is that something that you're still doing?
Yes. So the beauty of that was to find a way to become more autonomous in this business model. And the best way to do that was to be the photographer, right? Because it allows you to take on less responsibility, but still hold enough stake that your work needs to be credible enough for you to do whatever you want, right? So ultimately, what I'm saying is that it's a job set that doesn't require too much micromanagement, which is something that kind of impedes on my growth and competency. Is this shadowing energy of what's going on, right? Like for me, I'm very spontaneous in the approach of how I do things. Like not really the kind of person that can go sit at the desk at 8 and then leave at 5 every day and get X, Y done during that period. Like what takes some people the whole day to do, I can rock it in like half an hour or so, just because of the level of expertise and also the way you think about things, right? The approach, the displacement between A and B, and what's amazing about science is it taught you a lot about those things. And even energy and electricity in its own right, it follows the path of least resistance. And that's what I'm trying to do in all my actions, is finding a path of least resistance that's still aligned with the principles and the visions that I've set out for myself. So yeah, right now, OMM and me providing that level of photography is a great opportunity to allow others that perhaps want to do the same thing, or at least advocate in the same way that I do, for it to be an inspiring model rather than me trying to do as little work as possible. Because I must say, I possibly am the when you say work ethic, like work ethic is perhaps not the right metric in this scenario, but let's say effort, Newton meters. The scenario of a lot of people that work here work very hard, and I know they've been there, done that, but with the type of mentality I've had over the last 7 years, I've been able to identify where I can gain efficiency and where I can drop responsibility when necessary, right? And hence why I jumped off of management, purely because I felt the need to rather define my reputation on my own than rather be stigmatized by it. So where I'm coming from this is like with any company, when you're in management, you're naturally judged by subordinates based on the leadership style, right? And for me, that's not something I have power over. I don't have influence over leadership style. So I don't necessarily agree with it. I can't be in management, right? Like, it's basically me saying yes to something I disagree with, and I'm just not that kind of person. It's no hard feelings, like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You and I can disagree about something, and it can
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
fine,
Yeah.
right? Like we've had disagreements, and it's about knowing how futile it is to give so much attention to something where it's merely just a color or fucking a position in space. And people take so much pride over trying to get that across. And for me, I really, I can't get caught up in those kind of things because it's a lot of politics, right? And I put a lot of
Yeah.
pressure on friendships as a result, you know, because if you disagree with the boss, hypothetically, you're putting yourself on the line, right? And everyone who agrees with you puts themselves on the line as well. So what you get is people don't agree with you, even if they do agree with you. So like for me, that's not like it's not the most healthiest environment of negotiation, like management groups, personally, unless you are the head honcho, right? You're allowing people to express themselves. Like for me, my management style is different. It
Yeah.
would be different, or leadership style. I don't consider myself a manager. I see more leadership as a way of influencing people. It doesn't mean management isn't necessary. I think it's very important to install protocols and manage them in a healthy fashion. And this is what makes me think that managers in the creative industry and marketing space are more like project managers than they are real managers, right? It's not like
Okay.
you're dealing with projects, right? And they give you this title, so you feel superior, and that superiority, you know, inadvertently comes down into the people through some dogmatic approach, right? Known as autocratic leadership. Um, and it's very interesting because I'm finding it everywhere. Like there was even a dude I befriended a while back. You even know him, but for sake of anonymity, we'll leave his name out of it. But I heard that he's a super fucking arrogant boss, manager. And I never expected it from this guy. Like, he sounded all spiritual, meditation, motherfucker. Oh, yeah, yoga backwards, dogwood dance, whatever. But bullying people, bro, in his position. So, yeah, man, like, I think we can get so technical as to why people do those kind of things. Um, but I don't think it's chat for the day. But this is what makes me feel that there's a huge opportunity for disruption in leadership, in how people lead companies. And this is what takes us back to crypto, because I find that crypto is an opportunity for young leaders, young aspiring leaders, and people just that want to have a better impact on the world, an opportunity, or give them at least a platform to compete financially. And this doesn't mean everyone's going to get rich, bro. It's just not how it works. We aren't going to all get rich in this space. Like, I know that I've put a lot of money into it and I'm down. Even though I feel super optimistic about everything, I'm still down.
Jeez.
Right. And when you look at that, you just look at how resilient it makes you as a person as you go through the cycle of understanding what it is to be in a bear market, understanding what it is, how to build passive income streams during a bear market, understanding how long a bear market can be, and all the nuances that's faced along that journey. There's war, there's presidencies, there's fucking calamities through natural disasters, all funny things that shift the market in ways that generally you can't really predict precisely where things are going to be topping and where things are going to be bottoming,
Yeah.
right? And this is the same goes with this Bitcoin halving and the ETF, Bitcoin spot ETF, and all that kind of stuff coming into play. Like, we don't know how the market makers are going to be working now with the baby boomers' money, right? Because this spot ETF, like, I think yesterday was the first time since its launch that it didn't generate any buys, the ETF. I could be mistaken, but I did read something like that. So what that implies is that there's been buys consistently from these financial firms. And look, with the market going through its ups and downs, like, we can kind of anticipate baby boomer money being a little bit speculative in the approach, because we're not dealing with whale market makers here. We're dealing with private equity. We're dealing with hedge funding. We're dealing with big motherfuckers, yeah. Not just gents that sticked around with Bitcoin when it was super cheap and now they're rich and they're moving the price up and down, trading and liquidating leverage traders and that kind of shit. We now in a process of the financial fiat system actually moving slowly into this blockchain ecosystem. And this is happening through tokenization of physical assets. And that's happening as we speak, bro. The transformation is rapid. And with AI, things are going to be happening so fast. It's going to wipe the fucking dust out their eyes, and you realize, my friend, I'm made redundant. So I think it's imperial for us to understand what opportunity there is in the space Web3 domain, and how we leverage it in a way that can allow us to at least do the things we want to do and impact the world we want to do in a positive way. Because I do believe it's about having a certain size portfolio before you can really make big, powerful steps. And I even saw it with Mikey, bro, when he sold his company and acquired amounts of dollars, thousands of dollars. It gave him a different approach to how you can take the next step in life. And subsequently, he invested in a down-and-out soccer stadium with the fucking goalkeeper from America, the most well-known goalkeeper from America, bro. Wow. He literally got that guy as a partner, and this other dude that's his mentor as a partner. Because look, the money he got from his acquisition, or should I say the sale, is not nearly enough to buy a soccer stadium for 5,000 people. So you needed to find money, and fortunately he did. And now he's pursuing something that he fucking loves. You know what I mean? Like, it's soccer, bro. The dude loves soccer, and he's able to apply all the learnings he's done through his business ventures, like email marketing, just setting up collaborations and affiliates, and doing the social media. It's like all those intricacies align with the bootstrapping of making this thing become a stadium for an MLS team in the future, right? And that's the goal. And the team that's home to that stadium's Ventura County, and they're top of the log in their division. And that's great news, bro. Because this is just the next step to the next big thing, right? And this is where I'm aligning with the point with crypto. If it allows to give you some platform of liquidity that you can at least take the next step in the things that you want to do, rather than, because I just don't see saving money and hoping for a better day to allow you to be that person you want to be, or start that company or school or whatever. Those things aren't just going to happen, bro. And things are tougher than ever now. So it's about being smart and finding the right opportunities and leveraging the right people. Yeah.
Yeah. With crypto, definitely, I think it is definitely, I mean, if you can navigate it wisely, it's definitely smarter than, saving, because like what you're saying about the Bitcoin halving, we don't know what's going to happen. But I think most people who are sophisticated are betting that it's going to outperform inflation. And so saving probably is going to be like a bad idea compared to investing in Bitcoin. And, do you come across people who sort of, see the idea that, if you are involving yourself in cryptocurrency, that's like gambling as opposed to taking calculated investing, practices? And if so, how do you respond to someone saying, "Nah, man, that's gambling, man"?
Well, look, I've found a sweet spot in how I approach crypto in reality. I don't really talk about it. But in hindsight, the days I did, it's very speculative from the community, or at least the people I chatted to. Like they do see it as high risk, and due to its volatile nature, and it's also got to do with the amount of people that have wrecked in space, and as a result, told XYZ people that they got wrecked, and that can trend, bro. From at least from a word of mouth point of view, like people like talking about that shit, and people like fudding anything that's out there to disrupt the status quo. It's just a norm. Like we see it in all facets of life, right? It's just that new technology comes out, downplay that. Why? Because, we are a proud species. We are proud walking around with our Walkman, and this other oak's got this new Apple fucking little knob thing. Looks like a fucking piece of shit. Small little thing, and I've got my big CD player, You're still going to be walking with your shoulders up, bro, until enough people are aligning with the next good thing, and then it becomes on the downtrend. Like it becomes devalued in a sense. And that happens with everything, bro. And I guess you can use the word is made redundant. So I think, I feel. What was your initial question again? Let me answer it.
Like people, will say that investing in crypto is gambling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And back to that. I think that it's got a lot to do with trust, dude. The paradox is the whole concept of crypto is to allow more trust to the end user, at least in the form of decentralized trust. And since we're in a culture where so much is predicated on trust, and trust can be broken down into different things like loyalty, respect, whatever. But by and large, trust is what I honestly believe as the next age that we are in. The age of trust is merely just a way of us aligning with things that we trust as people, right? Friends, brands, social, whatever the case is. And the thing is, with crypto, people don't trust it yet because I don't think they've heard enough good news. And this could be a media thing. It could be the news of others and how they masqueraded. But ultimately, it comes down to trust. Once there's enough trust, and funny enough, with the spot ETF, I feel that it's going to bring more trust to the system because it's saying that financial firms, the biggest financial firms out there, are trusting this technology. And that's just how people are, bro. They follow the masses. So once FNB, I'm going to speak for South Africa, FNB says, hey, you know what? You can buy Bitcoin. Here we go. Option on your app. Oh, fuck. Oh, yeah. That's when the trust process starts to be implemented, because now retail has adopted it. And when retail's adopted it, fuck, it doesn't matter what, bro. Like, you can even use I'm a Piano, for example. I'm a Piano, retail adopted I'm a Piano in this country. And I can tell you now, there's probably more white people that listen to I'm a Piano, bro. Just because of the nature of the adoption process, right? Because
Mm.
this is the new thing, right? Like, this is now we at the point of where South Africa is going in terms of culture. Because now we passed that whole segregation thing. Now we actually, this is what it is to be South African. You listen to I'm a Piano, you fucking dance to house music, you child reverse roles, like there's those elements that are slowly becoming evident in the long term. Um, but yeah, and that's because of adoption, bro. Everyone in the school does it. Oh, okay, that's that kind. And for example, with us, I'm glad we always went the path um, he's taken, right? Like, even throughout high school, throughout primary school, we're always the misfits, people doing
Mm.
something different. And
Yeah.
I still see that up until this day. Like, even though there's a lot of people in crypto, I still think that we're doing something different. You doing it with the kids and on ramping them somehow or another in that domain. And who knows, one day there could be a whole Web3 domain advocated to, kids schooling. And
Bro.
this is something that I really see happening, bro. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of that, um, I spoke with one of my students in China. I'm trying to get this aircon to chill.
Graft.
I spoke to one of my students in China, and I haven't spoken to them in a long time. So I just, wanted to see like where he's at, just to figure out, what does he think about AI? So we
Mm,
chatted a little bit. It's like, yeah, I try to use the Chat GBT and what. So then he asks me a question. He says, "So how's Pulse Chain going?" Yes, that's what I almost like fell in the street. It was unbelievable because last time I left them, Pulse Chain hadn't even been a thing. We were all
mm,
we were all it was at the sacrifice stage. We were sacrificing for Pulse Chain, and so I had spoken about this. That
mm,
yeah, Pulse Chain is going to be huge, and um, it's mass adoption is gonna make Pulse Chain the most, how can I say, glorious thing, from you know sacrifice to where it can potentially go if we look at
mm.
Ethereum, and if we compare it, essentially better than Ethereum, and I don't think anybody can dispute that. Um, like you're saying, maybe you like Ethereum more, but at the end of the day, in terms of like capability and um, like function. Anyways, when he said that to me, I thought, wow, this is incredible. And so, yes, I think that, if we can have the reality that a kid in China is asking a foreigner about Pulse Chain, I think that's
Mm.
already the beginning of, you know, um, children getting awareness of blockchain technology. And yeah, I'm excited about that. And like for
Yeah, look,
you, like, yes.
I definitely think we can get on a call about that sometime and just brainstorm the shit out of it, because I think there's gang opportunity with somehow linking young kids to blockchain, but in a way that's ethical and not just trying to suck them dry, because that's how it's going to look, right? So it needs to
True.
be done in a way that's the on ramping process is by and large a win-win. So yeah, I'm keen to see
Absolutely,
what happens.
absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And just I think blockchain is cool and crypto is cool. But like what I also think is cool is that your career in food photography, you know, um how did you get into that? Because okay, fine, I get it. So from engineering, you spoke to us a little bit about engineering, chemical engineering, and studying at the university. You spoke to us a little bit about the events, and your understanding of music. But now food is like like on another side of the continent. Like how did you get involved in, and like what made you decide, you know what, I want to start taking photos of food, and that being a thing.
Well, interestingly enough, OMM is a company that focuses primarily on a lot of restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
So the moment I started working on clients in this company, it was food clients. And before that, even way before that, I've always taken a liking to cooking.
Yeah.
And that can be twofold. That can be the influence of mom in the kitchen, always being super inquisitive and curious about how things taste and how you got there. Because there's an unraveling process in making food. There's a schematic to creating something great.
That's true.
And that schematic is twofold. It's one, the design of it, the process you follow, and secondly, it's the process you follow through your heart in the endeavor. So this is what makes cooking quite ubiquitous to people that have a passion for it. Because anyone can go and find a recipe online, right? But the execution is what's going to make all the difference. And this is what made me really understand the art of cooking in a solitary way. Because like I was alluding to with the band, I find it's the epitome of teamwork in creating art is in music. But the epitome of creating art alone, I believe, is in food. And that can be different for everyone. It can be painting for some. And what I mean by that is it's the food fortunately came with the byproduct of being able to take photos of it. And that came purely by luck. Okay, not luck, but it just manifested that way, right?
Mm.
We got given a camera. We had to take photos of stores in the beginning days, just so that you can put on social media, so people can align with that particular local store, whether it's a Rockamama's, whatever. And eventually, I was like, I see a little opportunity here. Everyone on social media has a pretty shitty quality in their image making or content creation. It's up in here. So I remember I just had I got my credit card and I went and swiped 30K on a new camera for myself, right?
Okay.
And that was the first time I got into debt. And then I started using my camera instead of the company camera because it's just way better.
Mm.
And it leveled up the quality of work. And what happened was, Migs and I said, let's start a company called Zefcom. Well, we already had Zefcom doing other things, but we said, let's specialize in photography and videography work. And Migs went and bought himself one as well, black one. I had a silver one, Fuji. And then we are on our journey of becoming film stars, pursuing this venture. Eventually, we got a Sony, which like it's industry standard at least here for the food space, and that leveled up our work even more. And then the company dissolved into a division in OMM, and it allowed us to coat most our work with that level of competency, which basically disrupted at least the vendors in Spur Corporation, because no one could ascertain such level of quality with the teams they had. So it made us the best agency in that domain, just by the nature of the expertise and the equipment. But that comes from the analytical understanding of, if you know this is what X can provide, but this can provide even a better X, it's merely about pushing an ROI risk on that. So yeah, I think that's where my entrepreneurial spirit comes in, and I start to look at things in a company that's not even my own and ways to try and uplift it in a sense, whether it's from an efficiency standpoint or at least from an opportunity or opportunistic standpoint when it comes to what direction or where there's an opportunity for monetization.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. And so now, when you are actually taking the images of food, is it like particularly menus, or like what kind of images are you taking when you out in the field?
So you can classify it in two parts, one being lifestyle and two being studio.
Okay.
So I pretty much focus on lifestyle because I think it's a niche that's very underrated and it's more artistic in its approach, meaning you take moment shots rather than stylized shots, which requires art direction and a whole bunch of things. But it doesn't mean I don't do that. There are brands that I do that for. We bring a whole flash photography, you have diffusers, and you have your product on like a overlay, and there's another overlay in the back, and everything has got a shadow. Do you want a shadow coming from the left to the right on the product? Okay, cool. Put the light there. Okay, we want it to stand out more. Okay, put a light behind the product on the back with a diffusion. So there's all that, because photography is basically the art of light, right? Or at least the science of making light work for you.
Okay.
So it's a lighting game, merely. And the better your product, the better it is at capturing light. So yeah, I still prefer lifestyle photography purely because, like I said, there's not many people doing it for brands. And to capture that element of people laughing, having a chow, biting a fucking chicken wing in the moment, capturing that is like more fun. Right, it gives me a sense of happiness, or at least a sense of significance in terms of what it does for me, not necessarily what it does for the client. Because it needs to be twofold, bro. I'm not there to just do something for you, right? I'm there to also participate in an experience that I enjoy.
Okay.
And this is where I find lifestyle photography allows for that more than studio photography. Because studio photography, you usually have a brand manager there with you. You have some other fucking person that taps their mouth a lot. And you're just like, everyone's looking, let me see. Okay, let's go, but left, fuck, but no.
Okay.
It's criteria work. So
I
like
got
Migs
you.
does a lot of that stuff. Because Migs is better at handling people's feedback. You can bite his tongue. Folks gonna say, yum, 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 I'm a yum, 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 fuck you, bruv. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have time for yum yums. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why, like, I stick to my lane in this industry, at least. Because people are very sensitive, bro. And it's like being in traffic. A person's way more sensitive in traffic just because of the nature of him being in a car. And that security allowing him to like react in a way that he or she reacts like, you're fucking getting my lane, yeah. You know, like no one does that in the normal when you walk in the mall, right? And someone crosses over someone, you don't see them just shouting and shouts, fuck you, why you cross over here? Because they know I can slap the person, bro. You shout at me like that.
Yeah.
But in the car, it doesn't happen, right? So yeah, it's a very sensitive industry in a sense where, you know, when you tell someone, no, I'm not gonna do it, they're gonna like want to cancel, bro. Right? So it's like, as an engineer, if Oak says, hey man, make that bridge fucking high, I say I can't because of the physics. Okay, all right, move on. Yeah, no, you make it happen, bruv. No
I
matter how
see.
fucking hard you work, you make that move like that. So this is it, bro. It's an
So it's kind of,
expectation versus reward thingy, yeah. Like I pay $5,000 and whatever they think $5,000 value is, what they're gonna try to get out of you, right? So it's like a hustle culture, very hustle culture. Like
I
I
got you.
quote Oak for work. If I quote Oak fair, you fucking sour. I must be cheap, bro. right? Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, to be a freelancer, I have to be cheap. Like, I can't unless I have a reputation. And this is why I'm saying working on reputation is so important. Whether it's on LinkedIn, on Twitter, or X, not Instagram. Like, that shit's clout, dude. Like, you're just gonna have they can drop you like that. Like, you want reputation from high leveled individuals, people that are in on your journey somewhat, or even bigger than you. They're looking at you saying, "Oh, this guy's doing cool things." Instagram, if you, like I said, if you do the photography thing and you get it on it, you're gonna get a lot of photographers. But I thought about it, I was like, what's the point if I have a whole bunch of photographers like building me up? Like, I'm just gonna get more work and more admin in my career. So it's not something I want to do, right? Because I can understand the dynamic of I rather have business people, creatives, all scopes of life looking to me for some whatever I'm providing, whatever value I'm providing. They're looking to that rather than specializing just in. Because I could easily do that. I could easily say, okay, now I'm going to be Jon Theory photography and go fucking all in. But the reputation I build is going to be designed around that. Those circles. I think there's more there. I'd rather be seen as a thought leader than a photographer, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Hence why the reputation is going to align itself with some form of teaching, some form of value add, right? And I find it with anything, like a lot of people starting podcasts out there, they're doing it from the back of success, right? Like, it's because people trust you more when you can say, yeah, my company scaled to $15 million and I sold it. You know, like, already when you say that, it's like, oh fuck, I want to learn from this, like, right? When you just have like accolades and like, I won a trophy, I got some MBA back then. Actually, I mean, like, okay, where's your what company you got? I'm starting it out, eh? Okay. Let me see your Instagram. It's small, like, okay. You see, like, the reputation is still very like niche, despite what value there may be, right? And we are in a world where you kind of need to put yourself in front of the audience somehow or another.
Yeah.
But this is why I like what you're doing with this stuff. I find that doing this consistently is the way forward, bro. Like, I really believe, like, even like Mike and I were chatting the other day, even just having these conversations are stimulating in their own right, because they allow you to articulate better, think
Yes.
about what you're saying.
True.
Like, if you're doing it all the time, like, you don't even need to be posting it, bro. If you're just speaking to different minds all the time, you're going to eventually be good at talking. That's a skill.
Yeah, I do enjoy it, bro. I really do, and I just can't wait every single time. I have a lot of fun. It's a great pleasure, man. And thank you so much. For because a lot of my students are very young. Like they teenagers, pre-teenagers, but some of them are like interested in photography. I've got a girl that I'm actually teaching about creating YouTube channel, creating content. She's like, practicing, and so for like young people that maybe are fascinated with the idea of food photography or maybe photography in general, like, do you think like there's an age where people should start, or can like someone who's very young, inexperienced, no skills of camera, like start getting involved with photography and music, for example?
I think they already are with the phones, bro. Like, if you look at a phone, it's you see photography becomes it's subjective. Like, one person's eye is different to another, but there's certain things that are you can't go without, and that's like framing, for instance. Framing is a natural aesthetic to a photo, right? So what I mean by that is if you capture something out of frame, you'll subconsciously pick up a discrepancy. You might not know what it is. Obviously, a photographer will know. And this is where I find the younger a kid is at being able to identify the nuances in the lighting and the photography purely because of their own experience of it, I think is fundamentally very empowering. And it's the same thing with like a music instrument. Having the individual rather experiment with the instrument for as long as possible before they start to practice the theory of it. And I say that is because there's nothing better than finding your own style at something. It's like with anything, like soccer players, all sportsmen that start from young, they develop a style before the teacher comes along, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they create better technique and they sharpen this and they do that, but the style is inherently there. And this is where I find that giving a camera to a younger person, even if it's a phone, you allow the person to develop a style that's unique to them, right? Yes, a phone has a whole bunch of other things that could be distracting and might not be the best thing to hand a kid with the intention to pursue photography, purely because of all the distractions they could end up doing, watching, playing apps and stuff like that instead. But then again, I'm not saying smartphones aren't for children. Don't get me wrong. I'm just like with this question of what age does a kid, what recommended age can a kid pick up a camera? And I think that comes down to the type of parents as well, right? How they've raised the child, how disciplined, or should I say, how careful they are, because we are dealing with expensive stuff. And yes, you can prime them with something cheaper in the beginning, which is possibly the better route. But then again, you must understand that from camera to computer to output or whatever, there's a paper trail. So this is where it comes with the parent being able to guide that role. Because taking the picture is one thing, but you now need to bring it to life. You need to put on a computer, print it, and then give it to the kids so that they can experience their outcome. Because it's all about feedback, bro. Like, even with us in the band, we used to tape ourselves so that we could see where we're going wrong, how our style looked like, funny enough, the aesthetic. So this is it. Like, when it comes to art, dude, I find that it's very important for people to develop styles, and that generally happens on their own. Whether it's drawing, anything, dude, that someone's doing with integrity. They're doing it without anyone watching. They're out there creating feedback loops with themselves, iterating with themselves. I do that with tennis, right? Like there's learnings that are happening, me and the wall, that's got nothing to do with anyone else, right? I can't even talk to anyone really about that unless they're also a tennis player, right? So that's very, very, very dived into the art itself. But that comes down to whether you want to get good at something, right?
Yeah.
For when playing tennis, it only becomes fun once you get the ball over the net a couple of times, right? You don't want to hit it and then I fetch the ball and hit it. Fucking fetch the ball. You know what I mean? Like you get it over the one, the rally. That's what makes it fun, bro.
Yes.
And that comes with being good. It comes with being able to critique your style or your technique because you're doing this and that's why it's doing that. And this is where teaching is very valid, dude. In any kid's life is to be able to present the feedback and question, if you did it like this, how would it have turned out if you did it like that? Like those kind of things are things that kids tend to overlook. But it doesn't mean they can't exist, right? Allowing someone to be themselves, even if they're failing, is sometimes just as important. So this is what I'm getting at with the camera thing. Maybe not too young, so that you don't deal with, should I say, is there such a word as undiligent individual? Because like a 4-year-old, not really going to give a fuck about the output of the picture, right? You just want to take the photo because that's
Yeah.
how it's fun. And see you do it maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like, I think if you want your kid to do anything with a true conscientiousness, I think it would need to be done from a top-down approach. Like you need to engage in it somehow. Like be a
Okay.
photographer, and your kid wants to play with it, and you give it there. Or like play golf. You don't sit there on the chair and watch the kid play golf, bro. The kid must be
Yeah.
watching you play golf for a while and then want to pick up the stick. And if he never picks up the stick, then golf's not for him. Right?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm getting at. Like the kid will show you what it wants to do based on the things you introduce to it or the
Mm.
environments it's introduced to. And this is why it's so important to diversify the experience rather than just sitting in a room. You actually go out, try different things. And we were lucky in a sense because we got to do a whole bunch of shit. Figure
Exactly.
out, oh yeah, this is knacker, this isn't knacker. But with that, there's a lot of trade-offs, right? We didn't just stick to one thing and then all of a sudden be in a house by 28. Because a lot of
Yeah.
people are in those positions, but they didn't diversify. They don't know how it feels to ride a motorbike or a bike, or how it feels to actually swim in a dam. Like there's a lot of things that people don't know about, but they're just stuck to
Yeah.
their guns, and they could be on paper perhaps more successful. But that's for me not. I don't want to compare myself to others based on like material things or how they are defined by others based on stature. Like it's about how you're feeling, dude. And I think a lot of people aren't feeling that great, that perhaps have a lot of things that seem great. So I look at that and I'm like, yeah, not the richest oak in the world, not nearly as close, but I'm still super content as a person. Like I got a lot of shit on my fucking life, or should I say baggage and this and that, which is perhaps for some people more than enough reason to be pessimistic. But nah, like I see that as just a way of making me a lot more resilient in what's to come. So
That's
yeah,
what's up,
it's exciting.
man. John, hey, look, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know it's like midday there, and there's people walking up and down.
Yeah,
I want to say thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show, bro. It's been a
much
long
love,
time
brother.
coming. And here we are. We finally did it. So fuck, thanks so much, brother. I really appreciate it.
Shot, dude. It was amazing, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man. I had a lot of fun. Thank you for the gems, bro. You dropped many gems for the young guys. I can't wait for them to hear this and to run with it, bro, because you really, have a very interesting perspective from, really the intelligence to also accepting and being able to ride with creativity and actually just merging the two, bro. Because, I think a lot of people can perhaps get caught up in either or, and you
Mm.
have this ability to actually just bring them together, bro. I think that's really special, man.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man. It was lovely. We must do it again.
Yeah,
Like
let's do it
I'm
again,
really,
bro.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like, yeah, we can do it, maybe
Yeah,
like quarterly or something, or every once
definitely,
a month, every
definitely. Because
second
because
month,
because
whatever.
unfortunately, yes, unfortunately, we didn't get too deep into the events. Next time, let's
Mm.
talk about your events, the stuff that you're doing with Roger and Matthew. Because Matthew's actually agreed to jump on. I'm going to be doing a one with Garten very soon. So, hey, man,
But
it's
now this is cool, bro. I think this is you're onto something. I'm excited. Let's do it.
I'm very excited, bro, and thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day on a work day during work. Jeez, bro, thank you so much.
Amazing, but appreciate it. Shot.
All right, brother, enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, man.
All right, have a
Ciao.
good one. See you, my man.
Sweet.
See you. So, guys, look at that. We have the best of the best of the best. Jeez, guys, I don't know, guys. It's just getting better and better. I just can't tell you. I just don't know what to say. We had a lot of technical issues in the beginning, but we finished off with a smash. And I'm so glad. It's been a long time coming for me to actually get Jon on the show, and I think everything just happens at perfect timing. And guys, we're going to be seeing Jon again and discuss and going deeper into the events, because unfortunately we didn't talk about the events. Matthew Garton's coming on the show later. I'm still organizing with him, who is a partner of Jon. They've done some really interesting, they're continually in the process of actually doing some interesting events in the north, there in South Africa. And guys, man, I don't know, guys. The show gets better. Finally, I got my brother on the show. Hey, we're gonna get him on the show again because there's more to discover. So thank you for your patience, guys, and thank you for tuning in. I have a show later, so I gotta eat before I have a show with my friend from Shanghai. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy your weekend.